All right, guys, we have some pretty awesome news here for the Analogue Pocket and the Open FPGA core. We have the WonderSwan color now available for the Open FPGA. It's really easy to install. You can either go and download it and manually install it. But what I suggest, as I mentioned in my previous video, is just going and downloading the actual Pocket Updater. You can find this. I'll have the link in the description below. You download that program and it automatically does everything for you. You can control like the cores and everything that you have on your actual Open FPGA for the Analogue Pocket. But we have the WonderSwan color, and the WonderSwan was a handheld console released in Japan, I think about 1999 to about 2002, 2003 when it got discontinued. 16-bit style of handheld games. They had three versions. They had the WonderSwan, then they had the WonderSwan color, and then they had the Crystal Swan. And it was a cool handheld that had a bunch of games that if you lived in North America, you weren't able to play because, again, it was only released in Japan. And now the Analogue Pocket, this core, go ahead and experience all of those games. And there's actually English versions of these games that you can get. So you're actually going to be able to read the text and everything. And here's the core itself. There's a bunch of stuff to it, a bunch of features that you're going to want to know that you're going to be able to use on this thing. There's save states. So if you've used the Open FPGA before, not every single core has save states. Very important feature, I think, for a lot of these games on these older consoles, especially if you're somebody who just wants to get through the game, play it, experience it, see what it was all about. With a save state, it really allows you to do that. You save it at any time and not have to restart levels and stuff like that. There's also sleep plus wake, obviously. There's fast forward. So if you hold down the minus button, or I guess, yeah, called the minus button. Anyways, if you hold that down to run the WonderSwan at 2.5 times the speed, and then tapping the button will lock fast forward on, and it will continue to fast forward until the button is pressed again. You have obviously the controls for the WonderSwan, so they're laid out there. And one of the things with the WonderSwan, which was cool, you could actually play this device, this console, this handheld, horizontally or vertically. So you can see here they have the controls depending on how you're deciding to actually play this game. There is CPU Turbo, which allows the CPU to perform additional processing per frame, which can be used to eliminate some slowdowns. I've been playing around with it. I haven't really felt too many slowdowns yet, but it's definitely a cool feature to have if you do experience slowdowns, turn that on, and hopefully that will allow it to eliminate those slowdowns. Then we have here the native refresh rate of 75.4 hertz, which was what the WonderSwan was at, but the Analogue Pocket doesn't support higher than 62 and 60 when it's on the dock. So this core provides the option to either run the display at 60 hertz while introducing tearing, or to triple buffer frames at 60 hertz, introducing latency and skipping some frames entirely. And then there's these other options here for the video settings. Like I said, triple buffer, which will create some latency in the game, but get rid of that tearing. You have the flicker blend, which is one I haven't really experienced too much of it yet, but it says uses a combination of 2 or 3 frames of data to perform blending on flickering UI elements. And there definitely is some flickering in some of the games that I've tried out, so I'll probably end up turning on that flicker blend. Orientation, like I said, you can play this vertically or horizontally, so that's cool, that's that in there, and then you can flip it horizontally as well. And then sound settings, you can fast forward if enabled. It will play sounds faster than with, I guess, the original sound was. But the WonderSwan, a device that I've never had, never experienced many of the games. Now you can now with the Open FPGA. So we'll just jump over here and we'll take a look at some of the WonderSwan games, and as well as go through the core and the settings. All right, so here we are with the Analogue Pocket going down over to the Open FPGA. You can see here I have every core installed. You can get pretty much anything on here, but we're going to go all the way down to the bottom to the WonderSwan color and check out the newest core available here on the Analogue Pocket. We'll play some games here and we'll go into these settings. The first one, which is Buffer's Evolution, I want to check out. A really cool game. It's like you just kind of racing through a course and trying to get to the end as fast as possible. And there's obstacles you have to go through and different characters you can choose and different weapons, but it's very, very cool. And I had never experienced it before. Now we can with the WonderSwan color. Just get into the course here and then I'll go through the actual core and the different features within this core that we talked about earlier in the video. Here's the game itself. Sorry, this isn't on the WonderSwan color. This is just on the WonderSwan because you can see it is in colors, black and white. That's really cool. You're going through this course. You're trying to get through as fast as possible, avoiding enemies, hitting those checkpoints, And then eventually you'll get to areas where it's kind of like your buffer time, I guess, or an update on how long it's taking you to get to the end. It'll show you time. And there's actually even a map here, as you can see. There's the start to the finish, telling you how close you are to the end. And obviously, as you improve, you're gonna get more items and stuff, which will, assuming, help you get through the courses faster. Like that. These are the first time I've experienced these games that I would have never been able to experience if it wasn't for If it wasn't for this core here, which is really cool. So here are all the settings you have within this core. First of all, you have the controls you can go through. You can change up your controls, and I find being able to change your controls on a lot of these cores really helpful, especially with the GBA, with the buttons here. That can sometimes just be not the most ergonomic. I have like decently big hands, not the most massive in the world, but I find that it just really helps, especially with games like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 on the GBA. You map your flip tricks and your grab tricks to these buttons here. It just makes the game so much easier to play. It's good that you can map all your buttons, and this console here also has the shoulder buttons that can be used. You can map those to different buttons that if you think it's more ergonomically comfortable for you. Then we have the system type you can change here from the WonderSwan color, and then the Pocket Challenge V2. And I mean, it automatically does that for you depending on the game that you pick. So if you're in a regular WonderSwan game or WonderSwan color, it'll automatically use that system. CPU Turbo. This is the thing that will make the games run smoother, and that's on. I usually keep that on, and it seems to be working fine. Turbo Buffer, reducing any sort of like screen tearing like we talked about, and it's seemingly not really slowing down the games that much. I don't feel too much latency yet on the ones that I've played, but that's available there. You can turn it on, you can turn it off. Then we have Flicker Blend here. Flicker Blend here allows you to put it off or go for 2 frames or 3 frames. Then you have Orientation. Now this one's interesting, kind of weird. You can either play horizontally, which I have right now, or you can play vertically, because you could do this with the actual WonderSwan, which I don't know how many people would want to do this. Like, it's hard to control. It's just like, you'd have to probably change around the controls and stuff as well, but it's feasible. You can do it if you want to. I don't know if people are actually going to play this thing vertically, but we'll go back up here to auto. And again, you can flip horizontal. You can fast forward. Now this one's cool because you hold down this button here, which is like the select button, and boom, you can go through the game a lot faster. And I think this would be very useful for just certain types of games with like text and cutscenes. Maybe you don't feel like watching, you just kind of want to just fast forward right through them. Boom, you can do that if they can't be skipped. So those are the features here with the core itself, and they all work really well. Now this is a WonderSwan game. This is not color. Let's go take a look at a color game, which the colors on this thing are incredible. So here we have Digimon Battle Spirit, and this game, you'll see once I jump into here, is just wonderful with the colors. Like how good this stuff looks, especially with this screen. The video may not be doing it justice. Once you actually get this thing in your hands, you'll see what I mean, just how nice this looks. But like, this is a Digimon game that really cool. I didn't even know existed. That now we can play here because of this core, and plays awesome on the Analogue Pockets. Really awesome stuff here with the WonderSwan core. Highly recommend checking it out if you haven't. I think you'll be surprised about how fun some of these games are. A lot of 16-bit stuff, really cool sprites. And you can see here another WonderSwan color game, which is really cool, which I highly recommend people checking out. I've been playing this over the last couple of days. It's called Dicey Night. It's just like a dungeon crawler where you go through, you're taking enemies, you're picking up items, and you got to use them strategically to make sure that you're continuously advancing. It's really fun. It's another great looking WonderSwan color game that I would have never been able to play if it wasn't for this core. So highly recommend going to check out this core. Like I said, use that Pocket Updater program, because you hit the update and it will be on there, and then you just go in and you add the games that you want. But that's it for me, guys. Thank you all for watching, and let me know what you're playing on your Analogue Pocket.